We start by setting up proper motivation, which consists of three parts, keeping in mind what to visualize and how to visualize it. Visualize the refuge field, Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, any enlightened beings you feel close to with regard to wisdom and compassion in the space in front of you, and how we visualize them. Like a parent looks at their only child with immense love and compassion. Visualize the Bodhicitta field. Your two kind parents, mother on the left and father on the right. Family members. And all the dear sentient beings, leaving none aside. And here you are leading them in this practice, looking at them with immense love and kindness. And third, the purpose of the practice, to manifest the seed of perfection, the Buddha nature inside each one of us, which is currently obscured by the mental defilements, the gross ones, afflictive obscurations, and the form of contaminated karmas, afflictions, and the active seeds of the two. And the subtle ones, the smell like latent seeds of the afflictive obscurations, the cognitive obscurations, which manifest as self-centered attitude. By applying the remedy of the wisdom of emptiness, fueled by the unconditional love of bodhicitta, grounded on renunciation. With that, we start reciting page 3. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is freed of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the bodhisattvas and the buddhas, who through the knowledge of all leads hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths causes those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of omniscience helps subduers expound a variety of teachings. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays, to you, the Buddha, I make prostrations. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodam sukhi chodam la chamjo bhadu dhage kyapsuchi dhage jinso gipe soknam ki jola penche sangye chuparsho. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yamata Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashramanaye Swaha Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yamata Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashramanaye Swaha Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Yamata Desham Chayo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahashramanaye Swaha All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite, such is the nectar-like dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I will retire into the woods. Beyond utterance, thought, and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of the self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the three times, I pay obeisance. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, please liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of aeons. The Buddha does not wash the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of suchness that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in mystery's gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Page 14, Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, forms supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. the Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Heart Sutra Mantra, page 31. Tayatha Om Gati Gati Aragati Parasangati Bodhi Swaha. Tayatha Om Gati Gati Paragati 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 Parasangati Bodhi Swaha.
8 verses.
8 verses of mind training on page 32. With a determination to achieve the highest aim, for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a jeweled treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I still regard them as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. From my true collections, vast of space that I have amassed,
from working
with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind wisdom is blinded by ignorance.
Okay. Last time we were doing the page 41, the 5 object ascertaining or determinative mental factors. Okay, continuation from the Buddhist psychology. The whole purpose of studying this psychology is to know how our mind works. And we see that in this world, in terms of the psyche, in terms of how the mind works, if we look at this world, we have so many examples. For example, say, look at the humanity, history of humanity. We see that the humanity went through destructions, and the humanity went through evolution. For example, Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory, we see that the human being started as, say, initially as just a unicellular organism, and then from there it evolved, and eventually as what we call as the early men, the Homo sapiens started from the early men, and from there it grew. And then as the thought process became more and more sophisticated, then what we call today, what we call as the civilized or the modern world came into being. And within this modern world, it's not really modern. We see that there are so many complications, good things are happening, like the standard of the medical standard, and the facilities, technologies, information, so forth. We see that there's a tremendous undergrowth. At the same time, there are the corruption, terrorism, domestic violence, so forth. So these are all determined by we see that the thought processes. So what we call as the psyche, the thought processes. Within this thought process, we see that there are some people who are doing such amazing work. For example, this one thing that I always see the wonder and the fascination of the UN Charter. For example, human rights, Charter on Human Rights. It's just amazing. You read it and you will get a feeling that you just feel that this is my home. The world is my home. But when you actually go out, we see that no, there's so much discrimination there, the biases there, the reality. So people who design those thought processes, the charter, their thinking must have been so refined, amazingly, and the Bodhisattva charter. For example, medically speaking, the Hippocrates Oath, just reread it. And literally, the first time I heard about it a lot, then finally when I read it, it literally just brought me to admiration and goosebumps coming in the body. Amazing. Wow. Such a being existed on this earth, the person known as Hippocrates. Okay, so we see that, so these people, what made them so special? They think it. And then the kind of the disasters, the difficulties that we go through, unnecessary difficulties that we go through. For example, say that now the people, they are just running from the Guatemala and the other places towards America. What for? For the basic, the necessities, and then you see that there's a tremendous bully happening there, violence happening there, riots happening there. People not really settled. So again, what made say the people restless? Again, the thought processes of some people. So we see that these thought processes, how come that some are so good, some are so bad, some are neutral? How come that this is happening? So for that we have to study the mind, psychology, study the mind, particularly the study of the Buddhist psychology, the way that you find presented, how that is compiled here, which is so empirical and which will give you a direct mirror to know how mind works. It's amazing psychology. So we keep in mind from studying this psychology, we'll come to realize that we are nothing but we are all, right? Saying even those people who are so ruthless and who are so vicious, their thinking is ruthless and their thinking is vicious. So even these thought processes, they're not intrinsic in nature. They're not independently real. They're not, say, solidly real. So even they follow the principle of dependent origination. Even those incredibly brilliant, divine-like thought processes, amazing, wonderful people on this earth. For example, like the Hippocrates, Mahatma Gandhi, and then, for example, Jesus Christ, and then, of course, the Buddha Shakyamuni, and say the Mother Teresa, and the Martin Luther King. So Martin Luther King Jr. If you look at these, and then, for example, the Saint Francis of Assisi. Just read those biographies. It's amazing, such inspiration. Again, even their thought processes, which bring such a wonder to the earth, even these thought processes, they are also dependent originated. And more precisely, if you think about the Buddha Shakyamuni's thought processes, which are so refined once, many eons ago, his thought processes, they were as ordinary as our thought processes today. And at times, it was even worse than our thought processes. But now, how come that he became such a divine, such a pure, such a infinite compassion, infinite wisdom, and infinite power? How come that he became one like that? It's all because of the principle of dependent origination. If the good things also came into being by dependent on many factors, and the bad things also came into being by dependent on many factors. And knowing that, after all, if you compare the two things, the good thoughts, the wonderful beings, like Jesus Christ and so forth, and the terrible beings, who bring such a destruction and pain and tears in the eyes of millions of people. So all these mental states, they are dependent originated. They come into being by dependence on other factors. Just as their minds are dependent originated, even our minds are also dependent originated. So, knowing that our mind, if it takes the extreme form of, the ruthlessness, you are not happy. You bring so much of destruction to others. And from the point of view of karma, you will just go through endless, relentless suffering in the future. And then, on the other hand, if you build your mind some so tender, soft, kind, full of wisdom, the way these enlightened beings displayed, then you will just have expansive happiness, infinite happiness. So of the two choices, naturally, everybody would want to have the infinite happiness. And if that is the case, what should we do? We should embrace the corresponding causes. Ye dharma hetu prabhava. All phenomena, there are some causes. So we should see ourselves like say, although our mentality is not as say the courageous and compassionate as Jesus Christ, as not tender and the embracing as Mother Teresa's, is not as full of the intelligence as that of Albert Einstein, as they are so visionary as His Holiness the Dalai Lama today, as not as say the very compassionate and the just giving the ultimate answer to all the questions of the humanity as the Buddha Shakyamuni. So we see that although our mind is not of these qualities today, but we can achieve these qualities. How? Our mind is also dependent originated. So, because that our mind is not like these blazing stupas of the Jesus Christ, Mother Teresa, Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King Jr., then the Mahatma Gandhi, and so forth. But even this, say the stupa, which is not our mind, which is like stupa, which is not glowing, like one of stupa. Even though it's a one of stupa, we can make it a glowing golden stupa. How? Just know, first of all, without doing anything, we have to know that this stupa is nothing but dependently originated. This originates by dependence on many factors. What factors? Bricks. And this stupa, which assumes one entity, in actuality is nothing but made of, say, perhaps 1,000 bricks. So when the bricks are worn out, then the stupa will assume a worn out stupa. That's natural. So these factors dependent upon which the stupa assumes as the worn out stupa, just change those factors and the stupa will go. So remove one worn out factor today, worn out brick today, and replace it with a golden brick. And the next day, remove that worn out, the second one, and replace it with a golden brick. And eventually start glowing. And then eventually you'll see that this has turned into golden stupa, glowing golden stupa. This is who you are then. So this is how we can change. And we all have that capacity. It's not that some people are exception, or the Buddha exception, Jesus Christ exception, right? Say for example, if you look at the story of the Ramayana, say the Ram, amazingly respected, the prince, and of course respected as the divine. Just see to the qualities. We may not display these qualities, but at the same time, we see that our mind can assume these qualities. So the point is that we can change. So we have to, if we know that everything follows the principle of dependent origination, and our mind is no exception, our mind also follows this principle of dependent origination. By dependence on the conducive factors, our mind will also glow like the minds, or omniscient minds of the enlightened beings. So with this awareness, with this knowledge, then see how to work with our own mind. How to work with our own mind, and see that what I want in the resultant state, happiness and painful experiences. Although I don't want painful experiences, I want the happy experiences. So knowing that these are the two resultant states, and yet how they come into being is through ye dharma hetu prabhava. They arise from the causes. So the causes also, they are mental states. Mental states, some which attract the miseries, some which attract the happiness within our own mind. So thus far, we've been so ignorant, and because of which we attract only the undesirable causes, and thus miseries ensue. Whereas by by learning this psychology, learning how my mind works, the usual mind works, learning that, and then on that basis, see how to get rid of the undesirable, the factors dependent upon which the misery is attracted, and by gathering the desirable mental factors dependent on which happiness ensue. So this is how we should do it. And then for that matter, we have to know how the mind really works. To know that we have to be particularly the Buddhist psychology, which is compiled by the Nalanda, the masters, how that it's just the perfect thing, which is so relevant to transforming our mind. So with that mind, what we're doing is now, so to know this so well, how the mind works, we are studying the mind and the mental factors. So within the mental factors, we learn that of the millions of mental factors, if we take care of the 51 mental factors, then they'll be good enough. Of course, we can study more, that we should not be feeling complacent over the whatever little we learn of the 51 mental factors, but see that first we study the 51 mental factors. Of the 51 mental factors, there are 6 51 mental factors. They are grouped into 6 categories or 6 sets. The first one is the 5 omnipresent mental factors, and the second one is the 5 determinative mental factors, and next one is the 11 virtuous mental factors, and next one is the 6 root afflictions, and still next the 20 secondary afflictions, and then finally the 4 variable mental factors. Okay, so these 6 sets, see if you can have on your fingertips. Now we are doing the 5. The 5 we are done. 5 omnipresent mental factors we are done, and the 5 object ascertaining or determinate mental factors we are almost there. Okay, almost there, meaning that the 5 of them are saying that anytime our mind is to cognize the phenomena, these 5 mental factors, known as the 5 determinate mental factors, must come into being simultaneously. What are they? Aspiration, and we did a little bit of, say, the clarification of the doubts, question answers. Admiration, recollection or the mindfulness, concentration, and the intelligence. Okay, so these 5 points. And then for any virtue arises in the mind. For example, let's say you see somebody who is sick, or say a stray dog who is hungry. You feel compassion. The moment a virtuous thought arises within you, all these 11 must come together. All these 11 must come together. They are coming together. It may differ. It may vary in degrees, but they all arise simultaneously. 11. This is so good to know. It's so good to know. And then from this, what we come to know that, for example, let's say that if these flowers, these three flowers, if I have these 3 tied together, bound them together, and if I pull one, all 3 will come. Likewise, knowing these 11 mental factors so well, virtuous mental factors so well, then knowing that these 11 are bound together, so you pull one, the remaining 10 will automatically come into play, right? This is how we can cultivate the virtues. So let us see what the 11 are. The one is the faith. The faith, it has many kinds. Faith, of course, faith of admiration, faith of aspiration, faith of conviction. When you speak of the faith, they say oftentimes people go into the blind faith, right? This is not a connotation. Faith has 3 kinds. Faith meaning, for example, it says it is a mental factor of finding joy, which is freed of root and secondary afflictions. This mental factor is the main entrance to all virtues. Same say funny joy, say the funny joy in a particular, wow, this is amazing. So their element of faith is automatically there. Element of faith is automatically there into virtue, not any thought process, virtue over virtue. So faith of admiration, meaning that, for example, saying you see somebody like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, right? And then you profoundly admire this admiration coming. This is known as a faith. Okay, by seeing some qualities. And then faith of aspiration, that I also want to become like him. I also want to become one like him. Compassionate, very intelligent, visionary. Okay, that's the aspiration of faith, the faith of aspiration. Then the next is a faith of conviction, which is so precious. And in fact, in Buddhism, the faith of the different kinds of faith, the third one is emphasized so much, faith through conviction. So, for example, say if there is, say, for example, if I have to cross a river and I don't know how to cross it, take the swim, and then along with me there's somebody who is incredibly great swimmer, and then I have to cross the river, and then he's with me, then I'll try this, and then at worst case what will happen? I'll drown. In which case he's there. I have a faith in him. I have a faith in him in terms of conviction. I know that he can save me. I have a faith in him, faith of conviction. I'm very convinced that he can really protect me. Right? So it is through the reasoning that the conviction will be built. So with this, then you have a faith in that particular object. It's very reliable faith. It's a very reliable faith. So generally speaking, the blind faith versus the faith of conviction, there are two. So in Buddhism, the faith of conviction is so much emphasized. Okay, next, the sense of shame out of self-respect and sense of shame out of respect for others. Okay, so when we do something bad, okay, if I do this, then the people will say I will feel embarrassed. If I do this, then I'll make the parents feel embarrassed for two reasons. My near and dear friends will feel embarrassed. Okay, so when any virtue comes in us, automatically these two thoughts are also tied with this virtue. Then the non-attachment, non-aversion, and non-ignorance is so amazing. We see that afflictions, all the millions and trillions of afflictions, can somehow be grouped into these three families: attachment, aversion, and ignorance. So that is, all afflictions, however innumerable they are, millions and trillions of afflictions they are, either they are something which clings to the object, or they are something which run away from the object. Clinging to the object is attachment, run away from the object is aversion. And then neutral, if not run away, or if not cling to, then you continue to see the object as object real, which is ignorance. So attachment, aversion, and ignorance. So these are the three families of afflictions. So with this, the thing is that the moment you have any virtue, the moment any virtue arises in us, this virtue will take away from these three families of afflictions. One is non-attachment, meaning that the element of attachment automatically dissociates from this virtue. And then the non-aversion, then the non-ignorance. The moment any virtue arises, automatically take away from these three families of the afflictions. Okay, then the next one is enthusiasm. Okay, so what we need to know is enthusiasm, perseverance, joyous effort. These three are synonymous, meaning that these are the alternate the translations. So why we deliberately gave three options is that translators, they use different vocabularies. In Tibetan, it is on the Tsuntu in Tibetan. In Sanskrit, it is Vriya, right? But in English, the translators use different translations. If you know these options of the translation, later on somebody uses enthusiasm, you know, okay, it means Vriya. Or somebody uses perseverance, you know it's Vriya or enthusiasm, joyous effort. Okay, good. So enthusiasm is extremely important. When we do some virtues, okay, so with this, now from tomorrow onwards, see how much we can cultivate virtues. See how much we can cultivate compassion. See how much we can say no to non-virtues. Saying no to non-virtues is a virtue. Okay, so then tomorrow you wake up. Okay, yesterday we have the class and he said that to see how much we can say no to non-virtues. And then the co-girl comes to you, right? Or there's somebody says that you, what a stupid guy you are. And then, okay, no, I will not now retaliate, I will not fight. And then some anger, you cannot restrain the anger. Oh, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to do this virtue. Okay, so difficult, finding difficult to do virtue means there's no joy. You're getting it? So virtue, there must be joy. Joy in doing virtue. You're getting it? Joy in doing virtue. So generally speaking, but what we learned is that any virtue comes to your mind. Okay, tell me. Say today you learned that okay, you will try best to say no to non-virtues, no to anger, and the next morning, tomorrow, somebody shouts at you, right? And then what is your reaction? Okay, no anger, right? But only the anger came in us, right? And then the person shouts twice, and then almost is coming from you, you know, in your verbal expression. Verbal expression, and the third time, automatic, right? Verbal expression. And then you go back, oh no, it's so difficult to practice virtue, right? Okay, tell me, this thought, okay, it's so difficult to practice virtue. This thought, is this virtue or not? Is this virtue or not? Huh? It's so difficult to practice virtue. Is virtue or not?
Non-virtue.
Non-virtuous. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, there are two. It's so difficult to practice virtues. It's so difficult to practice virtue. Two, right? Okay, so difficult to practice virtue. I like to do it, but it's so difficult. One. Another one is, it's so difficult to practice virtue. Right? Who cares? So difficult, right? No one can do it. It's so difficult. Okay, which of the two is more virtuous? First one, right? Okay, so there, with the first one, it is virtuous, with the virtuous, but does the person find joy? When you say, it's so difficult, the moment you say, it's so difficult, right, unpleasant feeling is already there. You're getting it? Do you find joy in it? Okay, so these are things that we have to explore. You're getting it? But what we learned is that any virtue arises in us, these 11 are all together. 11 are together, right? So in what way? The degree of joy, the degree of joy and virtue, this degree of joy may be a little less, but it is there. You're getting it? It is there, but degree is less. So if you keep doing this, then slowly you will overcome this. For example, I remember sharing, I don't know, but I shared this with the Nalanda Diploma course participants about my teacher Gyanamrimba, who took like 6 years to combat anger. No?
Yes.
Okay. So there we can overcome. We can overcome the afflictions. If our thinking is negative, no, nobody can do it. If this is our attitude, we can never overcome the afflictions such as anger. Whereas if you say that you try and you find it difficult, oh, it's difficult. Don't worry. Yes, I know it's difficult, right? Try tomorrow. And again tomorrow. So slowly what is happening is that our mind so addicted to finding joy in virtue, right? Addicted, not finding joy in virtue, that is slowly toned down with the practice, and then from the not finding joy in virtue. Not finding joy in virtue is like, say, 60%, and then you try to practice virtue. What happens? Not finding joy in virtue will go down. 59. 59 means 1% of finding joy in virtue is increased. This is how it works. You're getting it? This is how it works. So that way, over time, when finding joy in virtue, the degree of that crosses the average level, then you will see it as, okay, now I can find joy. When it's below the degree of average, then you don't find, you feel as though like you don't find joy. Actually, you are finding joy. Because the degree is less than the average, it appears as though like you're not finding joy. In actuality, there is a degree. It is actually rising. Okay. And next one is extremely important. Suppleness or the pliancy. Pliancy means the ease. Ease. Pliancy is the ease. Okay. The moment the ease of the mind, the moment virtue is done, virtue, accompanying feeling is the ease. Non-virtue, accompanying feeling is disturbance. You're getting it? And the ease, pliancy is a very, what do you call it? It's a very technical term. It's a very technical term, and the moments of pliancy, people may think like, you are just into blissful experience, very pliant, extremely, composed, extremely, the tender state of the mind, right? Okay, this is how the technical meaning is, but degrees are there again, right? Although somebody, okay. In fact, I'm so happy that now the master's course, of course, even those people who are doing the knowledge development course from Delhi and from elsewhere in India and elsewhere in the world. So whenever I meet them, or whenever I happen to give lectures or the teachings, retreats and so forth, when I ask some technical questions, the people who give the answers, they are mostly 99% of the people who give sensible answers. They were all from Nalanda Master's course or Nalanda Development course. I'm so happy with them. Look at this is how the people, they're so consistent with the studies. I'm so happy with that. So what I'm saying is that some people, they report to me, say some practical benefits, how they were once very short-tempered, and because of this, coming to contact with Nalanda Development course, they become more tender, more soft, and then even the family members, they become happier to see that there's a change happening. It's amazingly, fulfilling. Amazingly fulfilling to see that there is a real benefit happening there. So now imagine that before one engaged in the Nalanda course, the mentality is a little rough. And then after coming in contact with the Nalanda course for the psychology and so forth, then okay, this is how mind works. Our mind is also like dependent origination, like a stupa and so forth, learning all these things. So I can't change. Finally, by being rough, I suffer. I don't want suffering. By being more tender, soft, sensible, the intelligible, I receive the benefit by knowing all these things. And then slowly what happens is that the mind becomes more calm, right? So there, when you see that your mind becoming more calm, a degree of pliancy is generated within you, a degree. It may not be, say, like above the average degree. Above the average degree, and like 60-70% of the pliancy, then you will say that, oh, this person is a highly professional meditator or a highly great saint, right? Because of the experience of the pliancy that one experiences. So that is of very high level. But any virtue that we do, some degree of pliancy is there. Calmness, ease. Okay. Then conscientiousness. Conscientiousness, this is the state of the mind which is mindful, aware that, okay, these are things that I ought to be doing, these are things that I should not be doing, right? A sense of the what is right, what is wrong, right? So with this, the mind which connects you, the mind which leads you with this knowledge, not just the knowledge, but conscience of being aware, and then it tilts you towards virtue. Knowing that, oh, this is something I ought to be doing. This is something which I ought not to be doing. So with this awareness, this is not just awareness, this is not just the knowledge. Knowledge plus the quality of tilting you towards doing virtue. That is known as conscientiousness. Okay. Then the next one is equanimity. Equanimity is, say, maintaining balance. For example, say this is something quite painful, and also say when biases are there, right? When somebody is so biased, and then say in the workplace, right? Say you're a senior and juniors, they are given the promotion up, right? Not for any reason, because that is connected with the boss, like this. All these hooks and crooks, right? So then it's so painful, right? So that is totally immoral. That's totally immoral. The moment the virtue comes in, some degree of, say, the equanimity, maintaining balance, striking a balance, seeing everything as equal, right? Some degree, may not be very high degree, but some degree will come to you the moment the virtue of mind comes in. Okay, this is the benefit. So knowing this, then what is very important, okay, if I really want to emphasize on virtue, these are the qualities that virtue should have, right? Equanimity, maintaining balance. So say, for example, in simple terms, for example, in practical terms, say, for example, say two children are there, and say the first child is very talkative and very impressive and has a very personable nature, and the second one is more never exposed to such kind of culture, reserved like this, but both crave for love and affection from you. And then what is the tendency? The tendency is that we will immediately be biased, more affectionate towards the first child, and then the second child. Either we may ignore altogether, or say give something smaller and bigger to the first one. So this is so obvious in the schools, right? This is so obvious in schools. How the teachers do, right? Teachers say okay, if there are teachers here, I don't know, right? Okay, and also the online participants, that the teachers, tendency for the teachers to show, say love, affection, and say the gentleness to the good students. So yes, right? So the real skill and the art of the teacher is if those who are weaker in terms of the mannerism, right? Who lack mannerism. And in terms of the knowledge, who lack knowledge. In terms of interest, who lack interest. If you're able to bring these students without mannerism to mannerism, without knowledge to knowledge, and without culture to culture, that is the strength of the teacher. Simply to say the teacher, somebody who's already a very brilliant boy or a girl, and making, eventually this boy or girl becoming outstanding, even in all over India, it doesn't mean anything. Because the genius can be born anywhere. Right? Genius can be born anywhere. It doesn't mean that it is your effort. Right? But if you're able to say the majority of the students, otherwise who first join your class and some are very uncultured and some are very, say, the least interested in studies and least behaved in the class, and then they become more friendly amongst the students. By the time the 1 year completes, then the students, they become more friendly, right? And they are more interested in your subject, right? So many of them who otherwise the first term, they all failed, and towards the end, right? Majority of the students, like almost 80%, 85%, they pass. Not only to pass, they pass with very good marks. Even those who failed towards the end of the year, even those who failed earlier used to fail with 0 grade or 5%, and then later failed with scoring like 20%. That's amazing. From 5% you brought the child to 20%. That's amazing, right? So this is the strength. If there's a strength of the teacher, this is the strength. Likewise, what you're talking is about this, say, the practice of equanimity, which is not naturally coming. If it does come to you naturally, which means that you have a very good environment of mannerism, of compassion, or from a past life. You've already practiced, you were exposed to these practices in the past life. And in this life, we can learn it. In this life, we're so lucky that we can learn these practices, say equanimity, say the two people, somebody who is so personable and somebody who is cultured, of the two from your side, although your mind automatically is drawn towards the first one, but be equal to the two, right? Equal to the two. And then just imagine how a very, very, very sensible mother, very affectionate and sensible mother would treat the child, the very loving child, and the little nasty child, how the mother sees the two as the same, treats them equally. So if you can reach to such a level, this is a practice. This is a real, very advanced practice, right? So if that is not happening, and then say you are practicing like whatever, right, emptiness practice, or the bodhicitta practice, or the awareness meditation, or whatever sophisticated practice that you're doing. In the end of the day, when you meet two people, very personable, you are so kind, and so personable, you just ignore, which means your practice is just zero. This is a test, right? So therefore, in terms of the labels, the teaching labels, they are very sophisticated teachings with the elegant labels are there. It doesn't mean anything if in the end of the day, you cannot display these qualities of being unbiased towards others, being able to sacrifice your, and then be able to see everything as good. Everything good meaning that, the Theravada teaching is good teaching, right? People that benefited. Christianity is good teaching. It can benefit people. Hinduism, the way of life, right? Family values, it's amazing. With this, the families, they can live better. And for example, the Islam, where, generally speaking, we see that in the Islamic countries, very strict Islamic countries, we may not see the boys and girls, in the ditch. You understand what I'm saying? Alcohol, right? Not commonly seen, but whereas in other places so common, right? This is amazing strength. How many brilliant minds are being destroyed by alcohol? How many brilliant minds are destroyed by alcohol, right? So simply because of this incredibly great, incredibly precious rules there of refraining from alcohol, so many bright people are being saved, right? And there's so many good qualities there. So that way, that one is able to appreciate any of the beautiful culture of the other traditions, right? So seeing everything like your own children, the mother seeing everyone as your own children, amazing, everything's good, right? Everything good meaning every tradition has its own good, not biased. That I'm a Buddhist, so therefore this Buddhist, and then within Buddhism, or I'm a Tibetan Buddhist, this Theravada Buddhism, right? And within Tibetan Buddhism, or I'm Diluk, I'm Sakya, this is a disaster, it's poison. So where is the equanimity? Without the equanimity, where's the virtue? Without the virtue, where's the dharma? This is not at all Buddhism in the first place, if that's happening, right? So my teachings are supreme, right? My tradition, that's supreme. So this is the most supreme teaching, right? For whatever tradition, Sakya, Kaikyu, Gelug, Nyingma, this is highest teaching, others are inferior. The moment you say this, where is the equanimity? Without the equanimity, where's the virtue? Because the equanimity is one of the 11 virtues. Where's the virtue? Without the virtue, where's dharma? Without the dharma, where's Buddhism? Right? In the first place, what are you doing is at all, even though it has a very elegant label, but where's the dharma? Okay, so this is the point. So therefore, these are all extremely helpful. So without studying these things, then all these mistakes can be made, right? In the name of the religion, in the name of a particular tradition, then, say we go into this kind of the fancy idea, and then say not at all getting the real dharma. So whereas you learn these things, this is so precious. Okay, so equanimity, and then 11.1 harmlessness. The moment virtue is triggered, it automatically drives you away from harming others. Automatically drives you away from harming others. So it's again the degrees are there, depending on what degree of virtue that you've cultivated. To that extent, you refrain. You are taken away from harming others. Okay, in other words, keep in mind that this is such a wonderful thing. The moment you practice one virtue, right? For example, say every day you recite this: I go for refuge in the triple gem, I confess the negativities individually, I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings, I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. The moment you say this stanza, and then you just reflect on meaning and take aspiration Bodhisattva vow on this basis, amazing. Just one stanza, and it takes you just 5 minutes, and then you are practicing all these 11 virtues automatically. Again, so out of pure, sheer compassion, so you give like 10 rupees, 5 rupees to say somebody who deserves on the road, right? Somebody who's disabled, old. You give something out of compassion, out of love. Again, you see that the 11 virtues are being cultivated, right? And then when you try yourself to avoid the being biased towards the people, again, you're practicing the 11 virtues altogether. It's a beautiful practice. Okay. The next is the 6 root afflictions. Okay, so now we'll go to the 6 root afflictions and the 20 secondary afflictive malefactors. We'll just enumerate what they are. 6 root afflictions, as I said earlier, the three main families where the mind starts to latch onto the object unreasonably latching onto the object, meaning moving towards the object unreasonably, right? And then the other one is the unreasonably running away from the object, number 2. And then the number 3 is the ignorance, not knowing the reality, Okay, so these three things are known as the three poisons. And then on top of these three poisons, then there are three additional afflictions referred to. They are the pride, the doubt, and the afflictive view. Pride, doubt, afflictive doubt. Pride, afflictive doubt, and the afflictive view. Okay, so these are the three additional of the afflictions added. So we see that these six, they are predominant in us. And in other words, all afflictions that may arise, any affliction that may arise in us, we can see that it automatically falls in one of the three families, either attachment, aversion, or ignorance, right? So for example, let's say the thing of the pride. The pride, it has what? It has it has the attachment towards the self and aversion towards others. Automatically, pride means, right, that I'm superior to others, right? I'm superior to others, generally speaking. And within pride, again, there are many classes there. Generally speaking, pride means that I'm superior to others. So there is clinging to the self is there and pushing others away from you. Aversion, attachment, both elements are there within the same thing. And then, for example, say the doubt, afflictive doubt. Afflictive doubt is, for example, law of karma. Okay, yeah, in that book, the law of karma said that, but I really doubt if it makes any sense, right? If it makes any sense. So be very sarcastic, right? So that doubt is tilted towards the misperception, not believing in it. So it falls under the category. It is not ignorance. It is not ignorance. It falls under the family of ignorance. You're getting it? Family of ignorance. This is distinction that we do. And then if you study Brahmana Vartika, no, if you study the Abhidhamma Kosh, that the treasure of knowledge by Acharya Vasubandhu, then we see that so many details explained how they were and how the various classifications of afflictions, the detailed versions of afflictions, they fall under which kind of the families. Detailed explanations are there. Okay, for the time being, let's say that all the afflictions, they fall under the three families. This is a very broad, general category of classification. Okay, then the afflictive view. Afflictive view again fall under the family of ignorance, naturally, ignorance. Okay, so after knowing these six classes of afflictions or the families of afflictions or six root afflictions, and then be very honest to yourself, right? Be very honest to yourself. Okay, see when you are a little unhappy or when you are interacting with somebody else, what kind of emotions are, say, arising within you? Attachment, aversion, ignorance, or the pride, or the afflictive view of the doubt, which is arising within us. Just explore and then see that, so which of these six classes my mind is more prone to. My mind is more prone to, and then see how to get rid of them. One, and then after more precisely learning about the emptiness concept, how things are empty of objectivity, how things are all dreamlike nature. After knowing this, then we see that these afflictions, you can very clearly, vividly identify what these afflictions are. Even a tinge of attachment arises, this attachment, a tinge of anger arises, this is the aversion arising. You can just see them very clearly, so like you're watching them in the mirror. So once you realize emptiness, right? You realize meaning, you get some understanding of emptiness. Okay, so these are the six. See the how to work on these. And for the attachment, so it has specific remedies and the generic or the remedies, the overall remedy, meaning that, say, like a panacea to heal all the afflictions, remedy to heal all the afflictions, and remedy to heal the individual afflictions, right? Okay, remedy to heal all the afflictions is the wisdom of emptiness, because all these afflictions, however divergent they are, the ground is seeing things as objectively real. Seeing things as objectively real. When you see that things don't exist as objectively real, they're all like dream. When you really see that, then that ground is shaken. When the ground is shaken, everything piled on that. Say when the iceberg melts, all the houses built, whether square or the skyscraper or the flat or bungalow or duplex, right? So whatever, they all collapse, right? There's no difference in color, shape, tall, the height, whatever. They all collapse when the iceberg, the ground iceberg melts. Likewise, when the iceberg of ignorance melts, all these afflictions automatically will crumble. So that is the wisdom of emptiness, is the panacea, the medicine, the single medicine to heal all the afflictions, to get rid of all the afflictions. Whereas the individual afflictions, because that to see emptiness takes a little time, and for the emptiness we have to go through the 3 levels of the wisdom. What are they? Wisdom of learning, wisdom of reflection, and the wisdom of meditation. Okay, the 3 wisdoms are there, right? So the first wisdom is pretty okay, we have to get that information. Then whatever information that we gathered of the wisdom of emptiness, we have to subject them to analysis, to reflection, to see whether it makes sense to you. The moment it makes sense to you, yes, that's amazing. Things really don't exist the way they appear to me. They exist very differently from how they appear to me. Okay, the moment you gain conviction, 100%. Now, whether I believe in Buddha or not, it doesn't matter, but the truth is that nothing exists objectively. This is 100% guarantee. When you reach that confidence through analysis, through reflection, that is known as the wisdom of reflection. And then this wisdom, when you get this level, the second level, what we can see is that, say, they just afflictions, when they arise, right? It's not that this wisdom will instantly cut afflictions and afflictions dissolve. No. What happens is that when the afflictions arise with this wisdom, the moment you get the glimpse of this wisdom, that guaranteed nothing really exists the way they appear to me. This wisdom drives through the reflection. What happens is that as education, say, just meditate on this, and then say earlier, a tinge of mental agitation was there. Maybe you were a little sad, or you're a little, say, feeling lonely, or you're a little hurt, or you're a little, say, the attachment, craving, jealousy, whatever arises. Okay, sit down and just reflect on the emptiness, and you get a glimpse of this instantly. So this, say, the nature of the attachment, aversion, jealousy, loneliness, and the meaningless, the hollowness of the life, and so forth. So there, the disturbance is there, mental disturbance is there. So physiologically, disturbance is there. You are not feeling it. Actually, it is happening. Because that we are all so addicted to this, we don't feel it. For example, when the temperature is like 22, now, most likely now, do you feel the cold? Do you feel the warmth? No, it's very moderate. When it's very moderate, you don't feel it. Right? Say if the temperature is just the same temperature for the whole 1 year, do you feel any warm or the heat or the cold like this? No, you don't feel it. You're getting it? So our body is so addicted, so used to that, we don't feel it. Likewise, that this turbulence in the mind, mental turbulence, because of these afflictions, attachment, anger, jealousy, and so forth, and say feeling lonely and so forth. So these turbulence are actually there, and then oftentimes, okay, today there is no turbulence because I did not become angry, right? I did not become agitated. I do not have any kind of attachment aversion like this. Oh, normal day, nice. So you feel that it's a normal day, but there's a mixture of the agitation from all these past lives and this past year, right? Whole one year agitation is already there. It's still there. It's like the body, right? It's still there. You don't feel it. When will you feel that? You will feel the wonder. Okay, now I'm peaceful. Many people say that I don't know what is I don't know what is mental disturbance. Some people say that, right? So innocently, right? If they realize emptiness, then they will see that there is a mental disturbance. Although they think that I'm perfectly fine. I don't know what is. People talk about loneliness. People talk about anger, jealousy, so forth, and mental disturbance, agitation. I don't know what it is. What do you mean by agitation? Right? Some people say like this. Right? I don't know what is unhappiness. Some people say like this. So actually, in actuality, same. As long as we don't have the experience, we don't have the glimpse of emptiness, our mind is already in the agitated state, 24/7, already in the agitated state, meaning the disturbance state, not really agitated, disturbance state. It's just like boiling. Physiologically, it's not just mental. Physiology is boiling. When you will come to realize that? The first time you have a glimpse of emptiness, then you see the instantly, this what was boiling settles down, quells. What is that? This turbulence, when it stops, what happens? So for example, the sound of the traffic, right? Almost 27, this sound of traffic is there. If you stay in Tibet house for 24/7, right? You cannot escape from this sound. Yet, at a time, you will not hear this. You will not hear this when you're absorbed in something, discussing or whatever. Okay, the point is that the moment all this traffic, literally if the traffic stops for whatever reason, whether for 26 January or what, marathon, for whatever reason, all this traffic literally stops, then you will see the peace. See the peace of the mind. Likewise, just a glimpse of the emptiness, all this boiling, physiologically, they all quell. The moment you quell, then you will see the wonder. Wow, there's a very pristine experience. Incredibly, the serenity is there. Incredible tranquility is there. This I never knew that it possibly existed. I never knew that. I thought I was really at peace. No, I was all the way down, at least in this life, right? Since I could remember from that time till today, my mind was just boiling. I didn't know that. Today, for the first time, I'm experiencing it. So this is what one is bound to experience. Okay, so the point is that say the mental disturbance. And then so the panacea, the medicine to heal all the afflictions is the wisdom of emptiness. For that matter, we have to study the wisdom of emptiness. Then we have to reflect on whatever you have studied, and then whatever reflection that you did, conviction that you gain, we have to practice over and over again, meditate on this. Okay, this is one thing. But this will take a little time. Because that will take a little time, our job is to apply the specific remedies. To apply the specific remedies is easier. For example, for the attachment, the reflection on the impurities. Impurities, right? For example, human beings. We are made of the 6 elements, and within the 6 elements, element of earth, you just go into deeply the fatty tissues and so forth. Just actually, when we literally see them in the hospitals with the cuts and so forth, so this is a problematic. Okay, and then for the anger, practice compassion, right? Practice compassion. And for the pride, a practice of the wisdom of dependent origination. Then I've nothing really to be proud of, right? There's nothing for me to be conceited or to be proud of, because everything is dependent originated. So I'm good at this because I get exposed to that. If somebody, other person who is also exposed to the same situation, he or she will be as good as me, perhaps better than me, right? So it's just a dependent origination. The more we reflect on dependent origination, then our pride will automatically go down. Okay. Then the ignorance. For ignorance, of course, to say the cultivate the knowledge. Keep learning something, which is so important. Keep learning something, reading something. Okay. Then for the afflictive view, same. Afflictive view and the ignorance, keep learning something meaningful. Afflictive view, keep learning something meaningful. Ignorance is more like dullness. So the mind is inactive. Make it active by learning something. And afflictive view, it is active, but in the wrong way. So they learn something meaningful. And the afflictive doubt. Afflictive doubt, again, to learn the meaningful, correct one, then the afflictive doubt will be gone rid of. Okay, so the distinction is there. The doubt and the afflictive view. The distinction is that afflictive view is one-sided. One-sided. Okay, so there is no law of karma, right? Yes, there's law of karma. The Buddha said it. Who is Buddha? All right, who is Buddha? Okay, who is Buddha? Why should I have to be trust in? The law of karma does not exist. This is what is on the wrong view. Whereas law of karma, I'm not too sure, but it doesn't make any sense to me, right? If this is your attitude, you acknowledge that you're not sure. So you are in a doubtful state. You have a doubt there. But this doubt is afflictive because it is tilted towards not accepting it. Okay. And then the 20 secondary, the secondary afflictive mental fact, secondary. Okay. Now let's see. Belligerence. Belligerence. Okay. The belligerence, it is a malicious state of mind which wishes to cause immediate harm to others due to increased anger. It's a version of the anger, belligerence. Then resentment. You know what resentment is, right? And resentment is really not good, particularly for the practice of dharma and more precisely for the practice of bodhicitta. Resentment is extremely harmful. Resentment is extremely harmful. So even though on the spot you may become a little angry, but deep inside, never to retain, never to hold on to resentment, never to hold on to grudge. That should not be there. Retaliation, resentment, just inside, okay, this person, I must retaliate. You know, this resentment. This is one of the greatest enemies of the bodhicitta practice. Right? So we're so weak. We are weak. So the afflictions are bound to be there. Anger is bound to be there. But deep inside, right, when the anger is there, even if the resentment also, in some cases, it's very naturally coming, resentment. Right? So resentment and the mere anger of the two. Resentment is easier to be gotten rid of. Resentment is easier to be gotten rid of. Right? Some people, they can easily become angry, but then in few minutes, finish, forgot, and again start talking to the other person. Right? So resentment is not there. But the resentment is there, anger is already there. Although, so with the resentment, anger is already there. Anger is already there, right? With the resentment, then okay, so you had a conflict with the person A, and then anger. At the very moment there's anger, and then you go back home, and then there's resentment inside there, and then after 3 days you meet a person, you don't talk to the person. Right? There's resentment there, right? There's resentment there, right? Okay. Okay, resentment is terrible. So finally, let us not judge anybody else, right? Okay, I'm talking to myself. Likewise, each one of us, we should talk to ourselves. You to yourself, me to myself. Finally, dharma, it is not to judge anybody else. Don't say that, oh, this High Lama, right, was supposed to be a High Lama, but not doing this. Or this person was supposed to be in Dharma, but not doing this. Or this person always going to Tibet house, right? Tibet house, but look, there's no change, still very short-tempered, right? Okay, let others say whatever. The job is that, see, we should be the judge of ourselves. Judge of yourself, right? This is what the Buddha said. The point is that as long as the improvement is happening, progress is happening, right? Don't fall prey to what other people has to say. Other people have to tell you, right? As long as improvement is happening, say you may be short-tempered, or you may have this mistake, that limitation, drawback, and so forth. Say like 90%. From there, because of coming to this study, Tibet house, and then you improve from 90, it becomes less, negativity becomes less, 89. Great success. And then next time, 88, 82, 80, 70. That's amazing. As long as improvement is happening, that is, you are the one who best knows yourself. And in case, if you don't have the capacity to know that, say the people, your colleagues, your Sangha members, your colleagues, the people who are, around you, and people who are very affectionate. Only those people who are affectionate, who are loving, caring, including your parents, they can see the nuance changes in you. They will acknowledge your subtle changes in you. And others who don't really love you, who don't really genuinely love you and affection, even if there's a change happening in you, they will not acknowledge that. Unless there's an obvious change, right? Whereas you are those people who really love you, who are in the same boat, studying Dharma, knowing how difficult it is to train the mind, they will be the person to tell you that, okay, there's a change happening in you, I can see that, right? Okay, as long as the change is happening in us, this is what's required. Good? Okay, so with this, resentment, then concealment, hiding the mistakes, then spite, like say, it is intention to utter harsh speech in reply to unpleasant words, okay, the spite, then envy, jealousy, the miserliness, okay, again, the dishonesty, pretension, vanity. Okay, so where the mental factors which are quite similar, they are, some similar. If you look at the meaning, you will see the nuances there. You will see the nuances there if you look at the meaning. Vanity or haughtiness, and then though some of you who may be very good in English, and from the English point of view, this distinction is not really there. Don't worry too much. The point is that you have to know the distinction and whatever English word, because these are the classifications, emotions according to the classical, the Buddhist traditions, not according to the Christian tradition, not according to the Judaism tradition. So therefore, the Judo-English background is Judo-Christian background. So if you have a better word to convey the meaning given there, then you can go for that word, right? Okay. Then harmfulness, shamelessness, non-embarrassment, dullness, lethargy, excitement, faithlessness, laziness, and then unconscientiousness. Some of them we can see that they are the contradiction, they are the opposites of the virtuous mental factors. Forgetfulness, non-introspection, distraction. Okay, these are the 20 the second mental factors. It is not necessary that when the afflictions arise, all the 20 afflictive mental factors should arise simultaneously, not necessary. So they fall under three families, right? Three family, particularly these two family, attachment, aversion, they cannot arise simultaneously. Attachment, aversion, the two will never arise simultaneously. One is attachment, clings to the object, aversion runs away from the object. But you may get a feeling that the two are happening simultaneously because these two can be very fast within the mind. Mind stream can be very fast, but technically speaking, a single moment of mind cannot display these two qualities, these two attributes, attachment and aversion. Okay, finally we have the four variable mental factors. Okay. Four variable mental factors, they are sleep, regret, general analysis, subtle analysis. Okay, these four. So these four are known as the four variable mental factors for the reason that they can vary. If you ask me, what are these four? These four, are they virtuous, non-virtuous? Depends. Depends. For example, sleep. Sleep can be virtuous. And sleep can be non-virtuous. Sleep can be neutral. Okay. Okay. And I remember that, I don't know how that comes into being. When we were very young in school, maybe like, let's say in school, which means till class 12, in the Tibetans will say sleep as ignorance, right? When somebody tells you sleep a lot, you say, oh, this person is heavy with ignorance. Timuk, right? When somebody has ignorance, once somebody is loaded with ignorance, the person tends to fall asleep. So that is not true actually. Because sleep is four variable. It falls under four variables, right? Sleep can be virtuous. Somebody who's in the class and falling asleep, right? Falling asleep. Maybe it's a virtuous sleep. Yeah, that's true. But I don't know how in the school we tend to say that. This is it. Right. I said, right? People who tend to sleep a lot, we said this person is heavily loaded with ignorance. Right? Okay. I don't know how that. So maybe that is because we fail to understand the Buddhist psychology. Tibetans are not good at Buddhist psychology. Yeah. So the sleep, before we go to sleep, if we fall asleep with a very strong, the positive emotion, okay, now I'll fall asleep by thinking on emptiness, or by observing my own mind, right? Or say or with a very strong dedication that may all beings achieve Buddhahood, may I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings, right? Very strongly, say, practicing the compassion for others, and then fall asleep with this mind, with this spirit, with this awareness of compassion, right? You just think about compassion, then fall asleep, and then forget about it. No. You fall, lie down, keep thinking about compassion, keep thinking about emptiness, keep thinking about impermanence, and so forth. So then the tendency that the sleep, when you actually fall asleep, that can become virtuous. One. And then more technically, if you dreams something of the virtue, like benefiting others, being generous to other people, teaching something good to other people, and so forth, that sleep is virtuous. And then in the sleep, fighting with other people, right? And then and so forth, these are all non-virtuous, technically speaking. But so that is not really in our hand, right? That is really what is really in our hand to make the sleep virtuous is that when we actually go to bed, we think about a virtue, and in that state of mind, you make your mind fall asleep. Then that is in our hand. That is what we can do. So therefore, once you have some experience of emptiness, impermanence, or say the compassion, just for put your head on the pillow, but just maintaining to think about compassion, think about emptiness, and then let your mind fall asleep. Okay, so this is something which we can do, that is in the hand. Whereas actually in the dream, then you dream of virtuous, non-virtuous actions, that is beyond our hand, right? Beyond our hand, okay. But even the dream can be affected by these motivations, they can be affected. Still, even though you go to bed with a very good motivation about emptiness, and then actually in the actual event of the dream, you might have a very bad dream or fighting with other people, and so these things can happen, right? Can happen. That is really not enough. So finally, what we should be doing is that something that is in the hand, that we should not miss. Something that is not in the hand, don't worry too much. Instead, say you fall asleep by reflection on compassion, bodhicitta, fall asleep, and then actually you dream of fighting with other people, killing other people, and so forth. These things can happen, right? Then when you wake up, what's the point? From the, say, 7 proper motivation before falling asleep, it did not really affect me. I dreamt terrible. I did something very nasty, negative. I think the non-virtuous action in the dream. Don't regret. While waking up, then say okay. So that dream is for sure because it imprint of the past actions which I was involved in past lives or within this life, whatever negative is that I might have done the earlier days is a reflection of that seed getting activated. Okay, sometimes in dreams, when you really had very bad dreams, right? So one thing is, oftentimes the great teachers, what they advise is that don't worry too much about the dreams. Even the dreams are also not really predictive, right? They are not really predictive, and they're just random. And of course, activation imprints of your past, the imprints. Whereas when you wake up and if you really feel as something what do you call it? The ominous, or say as a bad omen, right? If you just have an intuitive feeling that unpleasant is something very bad omen, bad indication, such a thought comes to you, then it is advised that you can reflect on impermanence, you reflect on emptiness, that everything is like a dream. Even a bad thing actually happens to me. Even a bad thing actually happens to me, even that is also dreamlike. So you reflect on emptiness, right? Emptiness, even the meditation emptiness can actually dispel many of the unseen or the forthcoming, say, the obstacles. So meditate on emptiness, meditate on, say, you dreamt of fighting with other people, harming other people, so forth. Then when you wake up, you feel that as a non-ominous state or something bad omen. Oh no, my thought was still very negative. I was killing somebody else, I was harming somebody else. So there then, the moment you wake up, you feel really unhappy, then meditate on compassion. Compassion. So these are the advice given by the great teachers. Okay, sleep. Then the regret or the contrition. Regret is a virtue or non-virtue? Regret or virtue is non-virtue. Same, you did a great virtue, and then in the end, you regret. For example, say, okay, let's say that, okay, somebody's in need of kidney, and then you came to Tibet house, you learn about this, right? You learn about virtues and so forth, generosity and so forth. Oh yes, I'll give my kidney. You give, and after giving kidney, you have to pay, you have to go through all these processes, and you feel it very complicated, very painful, then you start regretting, right? So there the Buddha said that where your mind is not ready, particularly with your organs, with your visceral organs, particularly with your visceral, with the parts of your body. So there, if you are not mentally ready, then don't give it. Buddha never forced. Instead, Buddha said that don't give it if you're mentally not ready, because you're going to regret. The moment you regret, all your virtues that you did in the past, they are spoiled, they're wasted, they go waste. So the Buddha said, don't do it. But then what about generosity? Practice generosity. Then the Buddha said, you can still practice generosity of your kidney through mental exercise, not actually physically. Mentally you can do it. Why you can do it now? Why you cannot do it now is because you're not trained. Mentally you're not strong. When you're not strong, don't do it. This is what the Buddha advised. So build your mind. First make your mind stronger through mental exercise. Then when you become really very strong, where you are very confident that I will not have any regret, instead I will have a tremendous joy of having been able to donate my own part of the body to somebody else, instead of the regret, this joy coming to you. If this is confidence you're having, then you can do it. Okay. So regret over the virtue is non-virtue. Regret over non-virtue is virtue. Right? So you did something wrong in the past, negative, harmful thoughts, and then in the end you regret. Oh no, I did that. I wish I have not done it. Right? You very seriously regret over having done the negativity or having offended somebody, and you sincerely regret. More intense regret, more virtuous your mind is, more the greater is the purification of negativity happening. So regret over the non-virtue is virtue. Don't forget it. This is very precious learning for us. Okay. So if you know the Dharma in its complete form, psychology, then the philosophy, in a complete form, then you get such a freedom. Right? We are prone to make mistakes. When we do make mistakes, then what should I do? Okay, now I'm done. No, we can still rectify. Just regret, because regret is a variable mental factor. Right? When you regret over the non-virtues, it becomes virtue. Amazing, you get opportunity to have a virtue. Regret over the non-virtue, automatically the virtue is generated within you. It's so beautiful. Whereas oftentimes, now what I do, I'm done, I'll go to hell. This is just a small children's game. Right? Whereas if you know this psychology so well, it's so precious. Always there is a rectification, always there is an amendment. Right? In a wise way. So these are so precious. Then the next one is general analysis and the subtle analysis. Right? General analysis and subtle. Tokju. General analysis in Tibetan is known as tokpa. And the subtle analysis known as chupa. Tokju. Together we call it tokju. Okay. General analysis and subtle analysis. Well, let's say that, for example, somebody is very good at computational skills, mathematical skills, right? Say gross mathematical skills and very subtle mathematical skills, and gross physics, very subtle physics. So this is all analysis, gross analysis and subtle analysis. And then, okay, how to harm this person? You can think of so well on the gross, think of so well in a very subtle way, right? Where the other person will not even notice that you are the one who is doing this. And yet, in a very subtle way, you manipulated the whole situation to harm the other person. So therefore, the general analysis and subtle analysis both are there, right? It can be very destructive and it can be very constructive. So general analysis, subtle analysis per se, we cannot say that is virtue or they are not virtue. It depends on where you are applying. If you are applying this, how to, for example, say the one example that Historians gives is the September 12th, 11 what? September 11th. What is September 11th? Okay, the fall of the World Trade Center. So Historians says that, look, the fall of the World Trade Center, just imagine, the aeroplanes, they came, then hit it, and then finished. No, it's not as simple like this. First of all, aeroplanes are two kinds, domestic aeroplanes and the international aeroplanes, right? Domestic aeroplanes, they travel very short distance, so the amount of the fuel is much less, so the explosion is going to be much less. So they have such a plan. They thought about these things, not just hit it with the aeroplane, hit it with the aeroplane with the massive fuel, right? So what is that? International flights, distance flights, one. And then these people should be able to get through. For that, these people should be so well trained as to how to make sure that they are not caught in between, right? And they know where to go. All these trainings were given in a very subtle way. Trainings were given, not just okay, you go there and then just hit, right? And then it should be able to take you to the desired place, right? Hit the right spot. For all these, they require tremendous training, tremendous knowledge, tremendous forethinking. All are required. Tremendous calculation, all were required. And then finally, the massive destruction happened. So therefore, the point is the subtle analysis and general analysis can be whether they are virtuous, non-virtuous. It depends, right? So if they employed for virtues, they become virtue. If they employed for non-virtues, they become non-virtue. Okay. So with this we finished the Buddhist psychology, but there are very important topics to be covered, which are marked. Okay, what I would suggest is that I don't know whether to do another one session on psychology. Okay, this I'll check with Divishla, right? Okay, so the point is that the page 52, other important topics under Buddhist psychology. So these you will not find under the standard Buddhist psychology text. These are the points which I added, which are very important for us to know how the mind works. How the mind works related to the practical thinking, related to the practical day-to-day thinking, pertaining to the mundane activities, pertaining to the spiritual activities, pertaining to your dharma practice, right? So there are many of the important points indicated there. So if you learn these things, they will be extremely beneficial. And if still we can have possible for one more session, we'll do some of these points, but not all in detail. But the point is that, so these points, how I got these points, they were all extracted from the important text which which are the textbooks of Nalanda Master's course. So, in any ways, invariably, we'll study all these points covered as additional points under the Nalanda Master's course. Right? You can be studying from there. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Ishana, could you please tell us whether it is possible to accumulate merit through virtual sleep? And virtual sleep.
What do you mean by virtual sleep?
Let's say you sleep with a positive thought.
Yes. Okay, virtual sleep. Yes. Okay.
And whether one can create positive merit through virtual sleep.
Okay.
And whether one can gain good karma through it. Positive karma.
So the answer is obviously yes. Because of this, the sleep is considered as variables. It can vary, right? Sleeps can be virtuous, and within the sleep, if you engage in, say, the act of generosity and so forth, so those are virtuous karmas. And then, say, the act of generosity, the merit is accumulated. Right? So these are all the merits can be accumulated, as well as, of course, the accumulation of the virtuous karmas also can happen. But act of generosity in the sleep and act of generosity in the waking state, of the two with the same intensity, right? Act of generosity in the waking state is more powerful. But act of generosity in the waking state, right? You give 2 rupees, and the act of generosity in the sleep, right? Somebody says, hey, you have to give 100 rupees. 100 rupees is easy, right? 1,000 rupees, no, it's very difficult. In the sleep, difficult. No. You have to practice it. And then, okay, yes, I will try. And then give it. It's very difficult given. Then giving, like, say, the same person giving 1,000 rupees, very difficult, and still attempting to give it in the dream, and then giving 2 rupees in the waking state, right? Generally speaking. So that virtue in the sleep can be more powerful. But generally speaking, if the situation is the same in the waking and in the dream, then the virtue that you do in the waking is more powerful.
It is said that the act of generosity, thinking that it's all a dream, is the most virtuous, because you are thinking of it as emptiness. The giver is empty, the gift is empty, and the one who's giving is also empty, and the whole scenario is like a dream.
Okay, so this is not really the case. Okay, so this will be covered in chapter 1 of Madhyamika Avatar. So we have to make, this is where the benefit of studying the Nalanda Master's course, Nalanda Durmos, this is a benefit. There's a distinction here. Say, just meditating emptiness is not the generosity. Just meditating emptiness is not the generosity. Say, say there are 2 actions of generosity. One, somebody asks for, please give me some food. Okay, then very compassionately I give the food, right? And I have no clue what emptiness is. And then another person, for example, the Padriji, right? With awareness emptiness, after studying the master's course, whatever, with awareness emptiness, right? And then you engage in act of generosity with awareness that I, as the benefactor, is dreamlike, and you, as the beneficiary, is dreamlike, and this act of benefiting is dreamlike, and the substance that I'm giving you is also dreamlike. With this awareness of the emptiness experience, you engage in act of generosity. That generosity is known as transcendental generosity. This is supreme generosity, right? Not just that the generosity is a dream or is empty. This is Okay, so you actually engage in the activity. Even mentally you think of giving. Mentally you think of giving, right? Okay, how I wish that I know that there are so many people who really deserve the whatever I have extra things, right? I like to give them. I like to give them. So there's even this desire. You're building the potential, the power of your generosity. So there you can think of benefactor, beneficiary, act of benefiting, and the substance to be benefited. So all like dream. So that is so engaging the act of generosity with reflection on emptiness, that is the supreme of generosity. Any more questions? Yes. Okay, there. Yes.
Yes, sir. My question is, what could be the reason for the pain, for the feeling of pain, and what could be the remedies for it?
The feeling of pain.
Yeah, and feeling of pain also has plus some kind of feeling of tightness, bodily tightness.
Okay. So basically, Adarsh, I see that you are asking a more practical question. Say sometimes we feel the tightness and feeling of pain and so forth. What could be the reason? So let me speak. So okay, one very standard answer is that any feeling of discomfort, whether tightness or pain, are necessarily because of the negative karmas of the past that one is a human. No doubt, no doubt. That is of course. Now the question is, but I have so much negative karmas from the past, but it's not that I always experience tightness. So then immediate causes there, immediate conditions are there. So immediate conditions, for example, the tightness, say the feeling of if you love your family members so much, and if you see that family members going through difficult times, automatically you will feel the tightness inside. You're getting it? Tightness inside. And then in a way here it has to do when this tightness is happening. This tightness is happening to you and not to others. That is the effect of your negative karma ripening. Meanwhile, the immediate cause is that you love your family members so much that they're going through suffering so much. You are seeing this. These are the immediate factors which resulted in you having the tightness and the feeling of pain and so forth. Okay. So now how to get rid of this is, say one is, okay, one more immediate and one more the final answer. One more immediate is to see the same situation in relative terms. Right? Say if you're say your family member, one of the family members is going through, they have an accident and end up in the hospital, but then is not the threat to the life. There's no threat to life. Then and still, right, going to hospital. This is a terrible thing. So you have tightness there. If it depends on how you think. How dare it happens to my brother? How dare it happens to my brother's child? How dare that it happens to? If you think like this, tightness will become worse. If you think, I'm lucky that my brother, there's no immediate threat, life threat. I'm lucky. Otherwise, it can be even worse, right? There could be instant death. I'm lucky that he did not die. Right? If you think from the positive side, your tightness will go away. You getting it? Okay. And then the ultimate answer is you have to practice, say, the wisdom of emptiness. Right? Wisdom of emptiness. The benefit is it will not reconcile you compassion and love. Love and compassion will be there. Very intense, it will become even more intense, and yet the pain will not be felt. That is the final answer.
had a question on pride.
Yes.
Let's say somebody is actually doing something very generous, and later on they feel pride overtakes it. Would it be a non-virtuous?
Okay, that's a good question. Say, okay, there's a tsunami, right? Oh, so we have to donate. Yes. Donate. Okay, then you spend like maybe, say, 10 lakhs of rupees, right? And then, after all these things, and then, hey, Rijab, my name must be there, right? My name must be there, right? And we just said, no, you did that purely out of on the humanitarian ground. But look at other people, they put their names there, right? This company is helping this, and they have headed by this person, Mr., Mrs., like this. Why not my name, right? Actually, you don't like to put my name there, right? So then actually there's a pride happening coming there. Initially, the motivation was so good, right? Motivation was so good. And then the imprints were so rich in so multiple imprints, good imprints, bad imprints, all are there, right? But the virtues is generated, and then the bad imprints also come into play, right? With the bad imprints activation, bad imprints will take advantage of the virtue. Virtue made you to act in generosity, and the bad imprint, self-centered attitude, makes you to, right, put a tag. I did it, right? So it's a mixture. Good food, bad food, all mixed, and they're poison, right? So therefore, our mentality is so rich of the positive from the initial part. Oh yes, I'll donate 10 lakh rupees. That is pure virtue. That time is virtue. Next time, my name should be there. That is non-virtue. Right? It has multiple parts. Rebecca?
I just wanted to understand the thought which came in my mind. When you try and reflect on dependent origination, and you see that most things are causes and conditions, the one who has been introduced to the teachings can perhaps, when they realize, change their course of action and change maybe their life, their destiny. But those who have not been introduced, which are many more in this world, and as per the law of karma, the world is never going to be an equal place. And I found the conclusion very not comfortable.
Depressing.
How do I change this perspective so that
Change perspective of?
Perspective
Of
of
the
the
world.
world is never going to be an equal place. It's very not settling and uncomfortable thought, because I'm a person who has always been passionate to champion for equality in everything, ecology, rights, everything. So it was very uncomfortable thought. So could you just help me understand or correct my perspective?
Okay, so partly this is a clear indication that even if I've not seen you, if I listen to your question, I could infer that you are a young girl. Young girl, because of the voice, I can see that you're a girl, and the question, I could say you are a young one. Young ones, they want perfection, either zero or perfection, either 0% or 100%. They don't know the numbers in between. Young ones, right? So the reality is that if the other person is suffering, and if there's a possibility, then the 80% suffering, if you can reduce this to 60%, and there's no other choice, that is the maximum that you can do, reduce to 60%. Would you do it or not do it? Because it's not going to elevate the suffering. Suffering still, 60% suffering still there. You'll do it, right? Good. Which means that let us not expect perfection. The moment we expect perfection, I want to change the world. You can't change the world. You can change the world from 80% to 60%, but don't expect to change the world from 80% to 100%. No, sorry. Suffering-wise, 80% to 0%. Don't expect that, right? Expect within the given situation, I'll do my best. Don't expect perfection. You're getting it? There are so many ranges. Keep in mind one thing to be very practical is not to make you pessimistic, is that Buddha appeared on this earth and he could not make the world perfect. Jesus Christ appeared on this earth. He could not make the world perfect. Prophet Muhammad came. He could not make the world perfect. Right? And Baha'u'llah came. He could not make the world perfect. Right? So with this in mind, it's not to tell you that be pessimistic. This is not the point. The point is that within the given situation, do your best. Don't expect perfection. In other words, what is that thing to be the best you can do within a given situation is, it's not just one thing. There are so many things that you can do. Create the awareness of the dependent origination to as many people as possible to the best you can, right? And rejoice in the people who are actually doing that, right? And rejoice in the centers which are built which gives centers which give platform to the people to come together to listen to such discourses on dependent origination. And from your side, how to contribute to these things. And then from your side, how to, in order for you to say something of the dependent origination, there should be people ready to listen to you. For that, you have to give some chocolates, by making them say. So the 6 perfections, they play a very important role. 4 perfections, 6 plus 4, they play a very important role. How to make this world a better place, not a perfect place.
Krishna, in the 11 virtuous factors, what about, this sense of shame out of respect for others? But suppose, sometimes that could also mean tradition, that your views, your conviction does not tally with the tradition. Say I'm going to the temple with my father. Say he thinks it would be better to wear a salwar kameez. I think I'm fine in my jeans, my t-shirt. It doesn't, as long as I'm decently dressed. So there are certain things which come from tradition.
Very true, very true. So this is where all these discussions are required. Discussions, studies, they will then dissolve, melt the confusions, right? In the first place, we have to get information. With the information, the clarification is required. This is so precious. For example, let's say stealing, or let's say evading taxes, evading the tax. Evading taxes, bad. Whether it's the father, daughter, son, wife, children, evading taxes, bad. This is really bad, right? Okay, so from your father's point of view, or elder generation, they say that, oh, you must be in the salwar kameez, right? And then as a young girl or a boy, what's the difference to go in the jeans? What's the difference, right? What's the difference? For the God, there's no difference. God, for the mother, whether you come in jean or whether you come in the salwar kameez to meet her, there's no difference. Mother loves you anyway. So the God loves us even more, right? So what's the difference? So this could be the younger one's thinking, and the elder generation thinking may be slightly different, right? So it's not that the God will be happier if you come in the salwar kameez, but then you show respect, sign of respect, right? Sign of respect. For example, say, okay, let's say, say if you go to give a present to somebody for his or her birthday, right? You will not, okay, I did not get the chance to go to the shop to buy something. Okay, I have leftover chocolates, right? I've leftover chocolate, and there's one part which I've eaten already, bit half bitten, right? So there's no difference. So what you get from the shop, and this also I got it from the shop 2 days ago. I ate it, some of them. So there's no difference if it, right? So you'll give your friends, to your parents easily. So there's no difference, right? But what's the difference? What's so special about birthday? Right? You'll not do it. Birthday means you'll wrap it, not only new, but wrap it nicely, right? Why should we have to wrap it? After all, the person will open it, right? After all, the person will open it, and why does all these ribbons, expensive ribbons? Why put it in a bag, put in a small carry bag, all the chocolates together, remove all the ribbons, and give hey, this is your birthday gift. No, we put it very delicately, nicely. So why? So this is a sign of respect. It's not that the person will be benefited more. No, it's a sign of respect, right? For the God, Buddha, Bodhisattva, whatever, for the temples, it's a sign of respect. It's not that that the for you there's effect there, but there's some respect. With the respect, then the qualities that you imbibe from them will be much more. So that way, the two thinking differ. Whereas with the evading the tax, right? Say the son evades the tax and the father doesn't want to evade the tax. Although these two differ in wanting to evade or not evade, but both of them acknowledge that evading the tax is not good. They agree to this view. When there's a clash in the view, right? So why should we Savla commits? Why not in the genes? If there's a basic clash in the view, then what we said here, the shame due to concern for others and so forth, that is not meaning in that sense. So whereas you acknowledge that this is not good, for example, evading tax and so forth, and then still you do that, right? So under such situation. Okay, these are very good questions. Yes, Risha?
Yeshua, my question is regarding the daily prayers that we do. So during my introspection, I thought that there is a line which we said, may I attain Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. But in Heart Sutra it says there is no attainment and no non-attainment. So how to reconcile? Because my mind goes again and again to this. That the Heart Sutra says there is no attainment, there is no non-attainment. But I am again and again repeating, may I become Buddha. So that is, English means attaining Buddha.
Yes. So what's the question?
How to reconcile?
Reconcile with what? Heart Sutra saying that there is no attainment, and in the prayer saying that may I attain, right? In the prayer I say, may I attain Buddhahood, and the Heart Sutra says there is nothing to be attained. So how to reconcile the two, right? Okay. It's strange. Risha came from Pune retreat, right? Somebody who came from Pune retreat should have the answer. Okay. So in the Heart Sutra, when it says there is no attainment, it means there is no objectively existent attainment. There's no objectively existent attainment. So when you say prayer, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of sentient beings, you're not saying that may I objectively attain objectively existent Buddhahood. It's not what you're saying. What you're saying is that may I attain the subjectively existent Buddhahood. Right? Risha, you got it? In other words, let's say this is a Buddhahood. Let's say this is Buddhahood. Let's say this is Buddhahood. Okay, it is there, right? So in the Heart Sutra it says that there's no attainment, there's no Buddhahood. And then in your prayer you say that may I attain, right? So say okay, the dream flower exists objectively or subjectively? dream flower. A dream flower exists from the mind or from the object?
From the mind.
From the mind. Because the dream flower exists from the mind, mind is the subject, so we say the dream flower exists subjectively. Right? So in the dream, you say dream flower exists from the object, not from the subject. In the dream, we see that as objective real. So now Harsuda says that the flower, there's no flower, meaning there's no objective existence of flower. You getting it? Then when you say prayers, may I attain enlightenment. May I attain attainment. When you say this, you are saying that may I attain the dream-like enlightenment, not objectively existing enlightenment. Objective versus subjective. True. Objectively empty, no, this is what Harsuda is saying. Subjectively everything exists, this is what you are saying. In your prayers, you are saying, what you are saying is, may I attain. That is on subjective or objective? Subjective. So when you say, may I attain enlightenment, on the subjective level, may I attain enlightenment. On the objective level, there's nothing there. Harsuda is saying, there's no attainment on the objective level. You getting it? If you don't get it, which means you are still not in the diploma course.
Thank you.
And newcomer not in the diploma course.
Yes.
I'm joking. Okay, very good. So this is, okay, this is, so this one, if you get it, you got through under the master's course even. If you get this answer fully, you pass through under the master's, you don't do the master's course, you're exempted. Right? This is anyway, you picked up the most complicated question.
If there's doubt, maybe I'll ask.
Of course. Very good question. Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, Kanu. Okay, last question, Kanu.
Yes, sir. I had this question since the beginning retreat, and reading this again made me ask this question.
Yes.
We were talking of three kinds of suffering: suffering of, and my question is suffering of change.
Yes.
Mundane happiness. So happiness of being alive, or happiness of life, like happiness to live. Is it a mundane happiness, first of all, and therefore come under suffering of change? And also the happiness that things change, whether from good to bad or bad to good, situations change. Again, the happiness of this change is again a mundane happiness, and thereby suffering of change. Be kind to me. Right. Give the question one by one. Don't mix the two questions. Right. In your mind is so set. You're set. I couldn't grab it. What's the first question? Is the happiness to live or be alive? Is it the suffering?
It's a mundane happiness.
Change. Is it mundane of happiness? Thereby suffering of change. Is the suffering of change? Answer is yes. Answer is yes. So, what's the next question? Next one is the happiness. There is a third question also. Yes. So is the suffering of the happiness of change, that things change from bad to worse or worse to bad or situation to situation. That I'm happy that things change basically. I'm happy that things are changing. Okay, let's say the Kanu, you're getting, say, that you're doing masters, right? You are doing masters in Delhi University, in JNU, and PhD. You are doing the PhD first semester. Okay, say after how many years you'll finish PhD? 3 years. Yes. Okay, let's say after 3 years. So you, as a PhD student, you change to the completing PhD, right? You change there. Are you happy? Not happy? Very happy, right? You're very happy.
So changing from bad to good, that is happiness. Changing from good to bad, that is unhappiness. You agree with me? Good. Okay. Changing from bad to good, this is happiness. Is this mundane happiness? This question.
So my question was, this change in general, the things change.
Change per se.
I'm happy that things change. There's
No. So I'm happy. Are you talking about happiness or you're talking about the change? Because you said I'm happy that I'm change.
I'm happy that there is change.
I'm happy that there is change. So you are talking about this happiness, right?
Yeah, this happens.
Happiness that you're getting out of seeing the change there. You're not talking about the change. You're talking about the happiness. Even this, it depends. Say, if this happiness, if you have not realized emptiness non-dualistically, if you have not reached the paragade level, if you have not reached the third level, even that suffering will change. But then don't feel too demoralized. Then everything is suffering will change. Don't feel demoralized, right? So this kind of introduction is required with the proper awareness of thinking of somebody being treated. Oh, then I have to discard this. I have to discard this happiness. No. You are eventually encouraged to discard all this happiness, not that the food, not the house, so forth, but what makes them this happiness as, for example, say, grabbing this flower. Oh, beautiful flower, grab this, you have the happiness. This happiness, whether it's suffering change or uncontaminated happiness. That doesn't depend on the object. You getting it? It depends on the subject. So within you, the happiness that you have, that happiness is mixed with poison. Remove the poison, maintain the happiness, that becomes transcendental happiness. Right? It is to encourage one to go to experience a transcendental happiness. It is not to demoralize you. Whatever experience is, suffering. Right? So there's no point. Okay, this is not the point. One. Then number two is that even though it is what we call a suffering change, there are times, for example, say, I remember this is amazing. These realities. There was one incredibly great teacher. And he was suffering from diabetes and also suffering from tuberculosis. Then he was being treated in one small clinic. And the clinic, because he's diabetic, severely diabetic, he could not take fruits, he could not take rice, he could not take potato, he could not take this, that. So, literally there's no food for him to eat. And then because he's suffering tuberculosis, he had to go for heavy antibiotics. And for the antibiotics, if the nutrition is not there to hold your body, it can kill you. So this great teacher, day by day, the body becomes weaker. Almost then, if you keep it like this, the next 4 or 5 days will pass away. So there was one brilliant monk, young monk. He thought, no, something is wrong with the treatment. So he instantly took the teacher to another hospital where there was one doctor who was particularly known for treating, having a high grade of treating the patients, tuberculosis. So he took him there, and the doctor said that, okay, what is he suffering from? Diabetes and TB. So he said that, okay, just look at the teacher. He said that just give him any food that he likes. And the attendants, they were shocked. No, we restricted the food so much because he's diabetic. They said this to the doctor. The doctor said, don't worry, right? Give him whatever he likes to eat. Don't restrain the food, because he is on a heavy antibiotics, right? And if the sugar shoots up, we'll give insulin. And then within 2, 3, 4 days, he's becoming stronger. He starts talking, he becomes very strong, right? And then meanwhile giving insulin, and then the tuberculosis is over, because the medicine, antibiotics work perfectly well. Tuberculosis is over. Then the treatment exclusively for the diabetic started. And the teacher lived for another many years. So these are when the doctors can make mistake. Oh, this harmful, right? So for example, say where, for example, even the Buddha taught what is known as the enthusiasm of respite. You getting it? No, virtue, hey, don't go to party, or don't relax, you have no time for, your life is so short, study, right, practice, and meditate, or say you have only 24 hours a day, at least minimum use 22 hours, you will die within 5 days. You will die within 5 days, right? So the Buddha taught what is known as the enthusiasm of respite. We should be very realistic. We are like that, suffering from tuberculosis as well as the diabetes. So therefore, our body, we have to struggle to get rid of the afflictions. Also, we have to make sure that this body has limitations. It needs rest. So the Buddha is so practical. He said that give yourself some rest. Don't be overzealous. Don't be over-ambitious. Don't do like, I have no time to do minimum 22 hours a day. You'll die. Right? Before seeing what? Hasa, you will die. You know the story? We have to know the story. I'll share the story, then we'll stop here. There was a person who was going from place A to the Lhasa. Lhasa is the Tibetan capital of Tibet. And he was going from that place. It was first time for him going to Lhasa. Horse riding many 100 years ago. Horse riding. And then he reached a place, and then he, from the body language of the traveler coming from Lhasa back to his place, in between he met this person. This traveler, frequent traveler. From the body language he was sensed. Then he asked, how long will it take from here to Lhasa? He did not give any answer. Hey sir, how long does it take for me to go to Lhasa? He didn't give any answer. He was upset. Then he just ignored and he just started walking, galloping. Then this traveler, he saw the person galloping at a particular. Oh no, this is a different story. Okay, this is a different story. There are two stories very similar. He said that, where did you come from? The frequent traveler asked him, where did you come from? I came from place A. Wow, usually it takes 3 days. For you, it just took 2 days to reach this place. Right? Usually it takes how many days from your place to this place? 3 days. 3 days and 3 nights. For you, it took only 2 days. Amazing. If you go this fast, then you will not reach Lhasa. You know why? Right? Because if he goes this fast, the horse will die on the road, on the way. Before he reaches Lhasa, horse will die and he will also die. Right? Because there is no restaurants on the way in those days, 100 years ago, no restaurants. Right? Going this fast, horse will die and you will die on the way. You will never reach Lhasa. So therefore the Buddha said, enthusiasm of respite, rest. Don't be too zealous, don't be too ambitious, right? Just go at the pace, and sometimes when necessary you also take rest. What is rest? Just feel, just rest, meaning, okay, let yourself rejuvenate, enjoy, right? What is rest? Rest itself. You feel rested, that is a happiness. This is subtle change, right? So it is through this, then you can take the next step. You are rejuvenated. Once you're rejuvenated, again you can walk. You're getting it? So like saying, take whatever food that he likes to eat. His food then affect his sugar, but don't worry, right? It'll affect the sugar, but we'll first tackle the tuberculosis. Okay, so this is how we should be very open-minded to see the holistic picture, and where, although it is poison, suffering is poison, but because in any ways, whatever we do, it becomes poison. So from the poison, go for the less poison, right? There's the English expression which says, go for the less evil, right? Okay, good.
Please turn to page 278 for the end dedication prayers. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chandrisi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samatavajra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus born up to 3 times, so that I might perform the noble bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Janjo Senjo Rinpoche Magya Bhagam Ke Gyurche Ke Bhagya Bhagam Bhaya Kone Kondo Devarayasho. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then we are to remain to dispel the mysteries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain to the state of Buddha, and lead all beings without exception into the enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of the teaching and realization. May I, all life through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the 2 stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I reach full enlightenment, inspired by wisdom and compassion to create the Buddha's presence. I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the children. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. The path of the union of emptiness and compassion is loosely explained by the protector of both the Dharma and the beings of the snowland. You are the lotus of the Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who harbor malice through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. In all my lives, never separated from the perfect Gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and paths. May I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Aryamantishri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings of dependent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life.